Hi, in this video I want to tell you some things when it comes to the Swedish welfare state. So I'm gonna only focus on Sweden, and you have to be aware of that around in Europe, like most of the European member states, of the European Union, have some kind of public welfare, and the Swedish welfare state is considered to be among the most, let's say, the oldest ones and most developed ones. So there are three general things I want to explain when it comes to history, class politics, and politicians as Bernie Sanders. And this is, for me, very interesting because I am very used to explaining about the welfare state systems in Europe to my, let's say, American contacts and friends and others who are interested in this. So let's start a little bit with the history. Now, many people think that the Swedish welfare state was historically created by the political left, by, let's say, the Social Democrats, socialists, even communists. But this is not the case. The modern, let's say, Swedish welfare state was originally developed like the first programs and systems like how to say, state pension, like a modern, let's say, like a citizen pension and public social insurance, actually started already during the years before, during and after the First World War by liberals. When I say liberals, I don't mean like American, let's say, liberals, more like European liberals, like in the sense of like small government, personal freedom, freedom of speech, like freedom of assembly and so on. So, but anyway, the Liberal Party in Sweden at that time was actually consisting of, let's say, more classical liberals, like kind of small government, and more, and also by social liberals, kind of more in favor of a bigger public intervention. And the outcome was actually that the Liberal Party and liberals in Sweden basically created the first, let's say, welfare programs that even exist today at different degrees and so on. So that's the first thing when it comes to history. Second thing, class politics. And it's very typical that many people believe that the welfare state in Sweden is kind of mainly existing for the working class. This used to be the case, let's say, more, I don't know, like 20, 30, 40 years ago. Now Sweden is more different as a society, as a nation and so on, because the middle class is, let's say, the largest social or statistical group category in the Swedish society. And this is why both public and private surveys and analysis and studies are showing that the Swedish welfare state is very often more beneficial for those citizens and residents who are middle class in the first place. So, for example, if you take this, let's say, parental insurance, like that the government pays you as a parent that you stay at home with your child, and not only that, but the government kind of encourages men, so let's say the husbands or the male partners in a family, to stay at home with children in order to kind of stimulate and empower gender equality in the Swedish society. So this kind of benefit is mostly used by middle class individuals in Sweden. It's actually used even by, in many cases, by individuals who are living in the most richest and more wealthiest municipalities in Sweden, for example, as Täby, where I am living. And now this can sound a little bit as a paradox, but the thing is, if you are a working class person, then in many cases you need to kind of work extra in order to earn more money. So it's harder for a working class person, like a factory worker, to stay at home with a child. So you have to kind of work more both parents have to work in order to get more money for the household. But if you're a middle class and you have, let's say, like earning more money because you're working in the service sector, maybe you have some kind of a IT job or more creative job, then you can afford to stay at home with your child because you do get money from the government, and your partner still brings enough money because he or she or it is also working in the kind of service sector and some creative stuff and so on. And now, last but not the least, like how, let's say, politicians as Bernie Sanders are interpreting the social reality. Now, what many people, let's say on the far left or on the populist left or collectivist left, don't realize when it comes to a welfare state as Sweden and other Nordic countries like Denmark and Finland and so on, is that public welfare is very much connected to economic openness, globalization, market integration, as in the case of the European Union. So there is a strong connection of the Swedish welfare state being more developed for the last, let's say, 10 years when you speak about number of institutions and programs, and the fact that Nordic countries are among the most globalized ones, most open economies, most deregulated market economies. So, for example, the Swedish welfare state has been depending on aspects as Sweden becoming a European member state in 1995. Because now, for example, Swedish, or let's say companies based in Sweden were able to have better rules, regulations, like European regulation for trade and export and production on the European market, and also with the enlargement of the European Union that opened for new markets, new customers and so on. And it's a similar problem with the people on the far right, because they also tend to believe that kind of the Swedish welfare system exists because of, I don't know, like ethnicity, or that, how to say, the Swedish welfare system only exists because of high taxes and that kind of stuff. But they don't realize, just as many people on the far left, that if you really believe like in a more developed welfare state, you do have to connect it to economic openness, economic freedom, economic, even deregulation as well. So these are the three general aspects I wanted to explain about in this video, and more information about that you can find in the video description. I will post one article that's based on both public and private studies when it comes to the Swedish welfare state. So, thank you very much for listening, and I hope that you will have a nice day. Bye.